these tend to be usually partisan events anyway. It's rare for the Republicans to be too enthusiastic when Joe Biden was the president. But on this occasion, it appeared to be particularly bitter. There was a Democrat from Texas, Al Green, who stood up and wouldn't sit down and kept shouting to the point where Vice President Vance, J.D. Vance, who sits behind the president as he's delivering this, was basically saying, just throw him out, get him out of here. And finally, after 5 minutes or so, some of the security people came and took him out. Others tried to disrupt as well. The Democrats, it showed how divided the country is, reflected by the Congress. You would have the half side of the aisle, the Republicans were standing ovations all the time, and then on the other side they were all sitting down, the Democrats, holding up signs, often disparaging Elon Musk, talking about lies and this and that. So unsurprisingly, a very bitter Congress today, but Donald Trump made very much a Trumpian speech where he played to a lot of his traditional strengths. Immigration got a big applause from the Republican side of the House. He talked about transgender issues. There are only two sexes, he said, and he played to traditional conservative Republican values.
A lot of what he said, John, struck me that we had heard it before in the run-up to the election, the claims that he was making about social security numbers, the claims about number of immigrants and criminals coming over the border, very much playing to his base.
That's right. Lorna, Donald Trump has a one sort of gold standard speech for himself, and he tends to make variations of that, but the centerpiece of it tends to be the same. He made a similar speech at the inauguration a few weeks ago, and right through the election campaign. He's a very empowered speaker. He's a very talented orator, there's no doubt about it. He used various props in the audience. For example, a 13-year-old boy who'd spent 5 years battling brain cancer came dressed in a police uniform, and he actually inducted him, if that's what you can do, into the Secret Service. A rather strange moment, and then the boy then hugged the Secret Serviceman who was giving him his credentials. And so a lot of very American bells and whistles. Donald Trump's as good at this as anybody we've seen.
Why does this speech to Congress matter?
It matters because America's very, very divided at the moment. The Ukraine war in particular, a lot of the people in the gallery, mainly Democrats, wearing Ukrainian flags or Ukrainian ties. The United States has just cut off military funding to Ukraine. That essentially signals the end of Ukraine's ability effectively to fend off Russia unless the Europeans come up with some dramatic package that really does throw Ukraine under the bus. That's perhaps up for revision, but it matters because Ukraine has divided people, the Middle East and Gaza has divided Americans, the tariffs, grocery prices here are expected to start going up within days because Donald Trump has just last night imposed 25% tariffs on everything coming from Mexico and Canada, and a lot of the food here, the fruit and vegetables, comes into the United States from Mexico, particularly in winter when not much can be grown in America, or at least harvested. And so it matters because this is an extremely divided country at the moment, and Donald Trump is trying to rally his base. He didn't try at all to extend an olive branch to the Democrats. That's what I find politically strange, is that he's now he's not campaigning anymore. He is the president, and the best presidents, the most enduring ones, tend to be those like Ronald Reagan and others, Bill Clinton, who try to reach out across the aisles. None of that from Donald Trump. In fact, at one point he talked about sort of radical left-wing lunatics as he pointed to all the Democrats. If you're wanting to work with the Congress, that's not the right way to do it, in my view.
Just one final thought, John. I mentioned that there will be people all around the world doing fact-checking. There's a few that I've checked on the cost of living claims that he made, government censorship claims that he made. Was there any that stuck out for you that will be seriously fact-checked? One issue that is being seriously fact-checked here is the fentanyl issue.
one of the reasons he says he's put tariffs on Canada and Mexico is not just because they have deficits with the United States, but because he says a huge amounts of fentanyl, which originates in China, and then is coming in across the borders of Canada and Mexico. He gives numbers about how much is coming across from Canada. The Canadians actually dispute that, and I think given that's one of the reasons that this trade war has started, the tariff war, I think that that's an issue which will be seriously fact-checked in the next 24 hours.